Alright, so in the previous lesson, we finished up working on the doors of our dock here, and we built this little platform right here. Now I went ahead and added a few columns to that. Very simple. If we zoom in on that, you just see there are two vertical lines and a little stair-step pattern to create the hint of that curve at the bottom of the column. Now, I've also added a few details here along the parking lot, including some lines that are going to be guides for the semis pulling in, as well as some parking spots here and some parking curbs. Now, in moving over here, we're going to be working on the roof, and I went ahead and got a little bit of a head start here. I went ahead and created an inset on this roof, and it was exactly the same way as we worked with the curbs as before, creating a little lip on top and then creating this line to create depth. So, and I've also come in here and drawn a couple of cylinders. Now these cylinders, there's nothing different about these than the ones we drew when we were creating the fire hydrant, so don't worry about that. Now, as far as these little pipes that run out of them, these were drawn by hand, so there was really no shortcut to drawing those. It was just a matter of creating a 2-pixel thick line and creating that curve and then sort of running the curves that I want there. So I tell you what, let's go ahead and talk about a gable style roof. Now, if you're familiar with a gable style roof, you know that it's one where there's a large peak in the center of the roof and it runs the length of the building. So there's going to be a decline on either side of that peak. Now, I'm going to come over here to my roofs layer, and the first thing we're going to want to do, we'll go and cancel that, is we're going to want to come in here and find the center of this face on the top of our roof. Now, if you remember back when we were working on the fire hydrant, we worked with a square and finding the center of that just by drawing some guidelines through it. This is going to work very similar. I've got an extra layer here we'll work on that we can delete here in a little bit. I'm going to come in here with my 1-pixel pencil, and we'll come in and just draw a straight vertical line, or excuse me, straight horizontal line rather, just like that. We'll come in and draw another one up from the bottom here, a vertical line, and where they cross is going to be our center. So we've got our guides drawn. I'm going to come back over here and let's go ahead and let's grab our roofs layer here. I don't want to go to the layer styles, but we'll grab our 100 brick brush. I'm going to go ahead and drop a line right there. If you remember, I believe the depth of this building was 100 bricks, this line right here. So let's go ahead and just swing that into place here. We're going to try and get really close to the center without messing up the way the patterns merge down here. I think keeping your patterns nice and clean is as much as you can is really important when you're working in pixel art. So while that's not quite on the center, it's about 1 pixel off, it looks like we're lined up perfectly right there. So let's look back here. We've got an extra pixel there, so we can erase that, but I'm actually good with that. So let's go ahead and proceed. We'll go ahead and delete that layer with our guides on it. We're not going to need that. Let's go ahead and hit the trash can there. And we're ready to go ahead and create the peak here in our roof. So I'm going to come in here and we're going to want to draw a vertical line just like so, but we'll do that with our 1-pixel pencil. Just going to hold shift and draw that vertical line just like so. Now, depending on how high you want this peak to be in the roof is going to be based on how tall you make this line right here. Now, I'm going to cheat just a little bit here. Because of the angle, I'm going to make a straight line here. And when those intersect, that's going to be the peak. So I'm going to erase away that extra line there. And that's actually going to be the top of our line, right there. Easy enough, right? Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and make the peak itself as it runs down the length of the building. So since we're on that roofs layer, let's go ahead and grab this line right here. And I want to go ahead and grab every bit of that line. So I want to even grab this brick of it right here. And we're going to just add to that selection until we have the entire line selected. So we'll come down here and select that last little bit. Let's zoom out some, and we're going to make a copy of this. We're going to bring that up just like so. Now it looks like we didn't actually get that pixel right there, so we're going to just kind of snap that into position, and we're going to draw that one in by hand here. So let's go ahead and leave that right there, and we'll deselect that. Let's go ahead and draw in that extra pixel. Alright, great. So we've got the peak drawn here. Now we should be able to just come in and draw in a line just like so. Actually, I probably want to draw that on the other pixel just so it takes up the entire width of that. And we should be able to come down here now at this point and draw in a straight line here. So we'll just hold down our shift key and draw that in. And now we've got the opposite side of this roof drawn. Now all that's left here is to create this angled line here that goes from this corner here all the way down to here. Now, depending on how long this line is right here, is going to change the angle of this line as well. So we know that we're not going to be able to use our 2-to-1 ratio to create this line, but I tell you what, let's come over here and let's just use our pencil and let's click there, and let's go ahead and hold shift and click right over here. And it looks like we get pretty close to a 1-to-1 ratio. So we're going to undo that here. Let's go ahead and try that one more time and drop it right there. It looks like a 1-to-1 ratio gets us where we need to go. So that's actually going to be a usable line. Remember, we talked early on in this course about not wanting an irregular pattern for a straight line. If we were to go with a pattern like 2-to-1 to 2-to-1, then when we zoom out it would look a little bit lumpy, but that line is actually going to be perfect, so we're going to go with that. 1-to-1 ratio works great. So we're going to come down here and try and create that same 1-to-1 ratio. And there we go. So we've got that edge of our roof as well. Now, as it is right now, we have our roof completely flush with all 4 of the side walls. Now, if we look here, it's flush over here, it's flush on the sides we can't see. Now, that's really not typically how this type of roof is built. Typically with a gable style roof, the roof extends at least a little bit on 2 of the sides so that when rain trickles down the roof, it's actually going to fall away from the wall. It's not going to run down the wall of the building and create stains and things like that. So if we wanted to extend this just a little bit, we could do that. It may require just a little bit of modification here and to really all the lines we've laid down. Now let's make sure we're working on our roof layer here just to make sure we're not messing with any other line work. Now what I'd probably do is I'd probably come in and extend this center line by just a couple of bricks here, and then I'd redraw this vertical line that we originally had here, just like so. Now by doing that, we're essentially moving the sort of the crest of this peak from here to here. Now that may require, actually will require moving this line as well and this line right here. So we'll need to come back here and let's go ahead and do the same thing back here. We're going to add a couple of bricks just like so. And we're going to redraw this line right here that is our peak. Just like so. We'll need to come in and complete these bricks right here. Now as far as the straight horizontal line that we ended up with over here, let's go ahead and erase that for right now. We'll bring that back here in just a moment. So I'm going to erase that to here, and let's erase this line just a little bit down because we need to go ahead and add in a couple of bricks up top as well, just like so. Now in doing that, what we need to do is we'll need to extend both the sides as well. Now we've extended the middle, we need to extend the sides. So let's come in here and redraw a couple of bricks here and here so that we've extended that side over some. Now in doing that, we should be able to again redraw our straight horizontal line, and it should meet up right there, just like so. And you can see here how we've extended that out just a little bit on the front side of our building. Now I can come in and do the exact same thing for this side over here, but I think you understand. I think you get the idea of what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a little bit of an overhang so that this roof isn't quite so flush with the body of the building. Now in addition to creating an overhang on the front side and the back side, I'd probably like to come in and create an overhang right here on this side as well, which is actually going to mean moving this line right here and this line right here. So I'm not going to go ahead and do that in this lesson. I'll do that in between lessons so that you can look at it here when we pick up in the next lesson. But if you remember, in a couple lessons ago, I talked about the fact that we really don't have a lot of variation here. We don't have a whole lot of variation in curves. There's a lot of straight lines, a lot of corners, and there's not a lot of softness to this. So in the next lesson, we're going to pick up where we're leaving off here, and we're going to look at adding some curves to this illustration.